Hey YouTubers, it's Charlie. So if you're wondering why everyone's freaking out about this Walking Dead footage, it's from episode 1, which is in 2 weeks, but it's a big deep cut from the Governor comics. So just careful for spoilers from like the really early Governor comics in The Walking Dead. So here we go. Most of you, even if you haven't read the comics, probably know what's going on in this. He's making all these right-hand jokes, and you know what happened to Rick Grimes in the comics, but that was during the Governor's reign. So they're kind of doing an homage to the Governor during issue 28 of the comic book with this Negan scene here. So everyone's like, wait a minute, are they going to cut Rick's hand off? Like they said they were never going to do that. They said it was too difficult. They said it'd be too expensive to do the special effects. But then people are like, well, they did Herschel. They cut Herschel's leg off. So all the way up to the top with even like Robert Kirkman going back years, they've been flip-flopping on whether or not something like that was even possible. But the thing about that, though, is that you can't really bank on what someone says a couple years ago, because think about how they started off doing the show, and it was almost nothing like the comics. Like, they had a couple comic book moments, cut to a couple years later, all the way through season 5, 6, and 7, and we've actually been following the comics pretty closely, albeit with a slightly different roster. Like, they had some characters that weren't in the comics, like Daryl's not in the comics, so they use certain characters in slightly different ways. But when people get killed, they still do big comic book kills, even if the character's a little bit different. So they have big comic book moments. They're opening the season with the rest of that Negan kill. They've been teasing that even more than one person might get killed. And this is them just teasing, hey look, this is only the beginning. We might do the thing that you never thought that we would do. Which I think is the challenge for The Walking Dead now. Like, show us something that isn't possible. You've been 6 years of the ultra-violent, you've done some big comic book moments, now surprise us by doing the thing that you said you were never going to do. So just to explain the way it happened in the comics, this is issue 28, so this is like way early on. Just to give you an idea of how far we are from Governor stuff in the comics. So the Governor, like the big Rick Governor hand moment is in issue 28. Negan doesn't even appear in the comics till issue 100, so we're blowing past that right here. I wouldn't be surprised if we get to all-out war by the end of this season, but they might even move that up too. So you don't necessarily have to read along in the comics, but if you really like to do that, it's a lot of fun. So just to explain that issue 28, what happens is the Governor is seizing power. He has them at his mercy, the same way Negan has the survivors here at his mercy, and says, you don't understand the seriousness of the situation to Rick. Rick's like, I'm gonna kill you, and boom, chops his hand right off. So Rick wakes up in a hospital, realizes he only has one hand. But even though there's a lot of Governor dialogue that's transposed onto Negan here, that doesn't necessarily mean they'll cut his hand off. But I do think that it's going to get way worse before it gets better. That's kind of the way The Walking Dead works. Like, it takes you to the cliff, like at the end of last season. This pool of bloody gravel is actually the remains of the person that Negan killed, or at least one of the people that Negan killed, if there is going to be more than one person. But then when they open each new season, they start out with kind of like the continuation of that, like just to like kick the energy off, like, oh my God, we're still in the middle of it. And then once that moment is over, you're like, okay, maybe we'll get a little bit of rest. But then they just jam on the gas and it gets crazy again. So I think that's what they're trying to do with season 7, because the audience has been in decline just like a little bit for the last couple of seasons. The Walking Dead is still one of the most watched shows. So the challenge this season is in showing you that there's still so much left to do that's going to be really exciting. That was the whole point of Robert Kirkman introducing Negan in the comics, because they got into issue 100 and people are like, okay, this has been cool, but it's not quite as exciting anymore. And, Robert Kirkman and Charlie Adler are like, wait, we have all this awesome stuff that's coming. So bam, Negan drops and shit gets crazy. So that's kind of what they're trying to do with the TV show. Let me know in the comments though, do you think that they will actually cut Rick's hand off? I think they can do it. Like, it's a lot easier to do Carl losing the eye because he only has to walk around with an eye patch on. It doesn't require a lot of special effects, but they explained that doing Rick's hand would require them doing a lot of blue and green screen, so they'd have to shoot it in strange ways. Even Robert Kirkman was like, how is he going to reload his gun? But here they say he has a hatchet, so there are a couple ways to cheat it, but just remains to be seen if they actually have the balls to go there. So everybody give them a hand, make all the hand jokes you could think of. because 2 weeks, episode 1 dropping. I'll be doing videos all season, so be sure to subscribe to get everything. The big thing this next week is that we have like the 4 nights of the CW superhero shows, but I'll talk about that during those videos. So Walking Dead and Walking Dead videos, superhero comic book stuff in the other comic book videos. Although technically, Walking Dead is a comic book, the tone is so different from everything else that sometimes you forget that it's a comic book. But get hype, it's going to be awesome. I think this first half of the season is going to be really strong, but these first couple of episodes will give you an idea for what the pace is going to be like. I think they're definitely picking things up. I think that's the whole idea with Negan. While you guys wait for that to post, you can click here for like the full John Bernthal Punisher panel. He talks a little bit about Walking Dead stuff, and you can click here for that Iron Fist trailer again. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. Let's high five. I'll see you guys tomorrow.